Welcome! We are Robin and MANON, founders of the Viomatico, where we talk about entrepreneurship, coaching, travel, and the many lessons that come with it.
Follow along to get a glimpse into the mind of inspiring entrepreneurs and learn from the successes and failures they have been through along their journey.
We're excited that you're here. If you enjoyed this episode, it would help us if you share it with a friend. Let's get started.
Today, I'm sitting here with Libby Schwartz. She is in the United States, in Chattanooga. Am I correct?
Yes, that is where I am at.
And Libby is a very special person to me. We met each other when I was, I think, 21, so almost 8 or 9 years ago, at a very random location in Vietnam. I was a backpacker, Libby was a backpacker, and we met each other on the island Phu Quoc while we were talking next to a pool in a super random hostel. And now, years later, she's one of my best friends. We're met at many different locations. She's a physical therapist, one of the most inspiring human beings. I know she achieved a lot of things, but I know it was also quite a bumpy road. How would you describe yourself in a quick sentence? And what do you do?
Okay, so in a quick sentence, as we know, I can chat. So yes, thank you so much for that introduction, and I love you as always. It's been so amazing to see our journeys of entrepreneurship kind of go side by side as we've grown. This has been just so amazing. But me, in a nutshell, Movement Mantra is my company, and so movement is who I am. I love everything movement, whether that's physical movement, growth mindset oriented, like movement forward. Travel obviously is a huge part of that, and how movement really kind of plays a part in my job then, and in the ways that I've kind of built my company through physical therapy, through coaching, and now really through creating more of a lifestyle brand, Movement Mantra, to really grow and help people find their own movement-based lifestyle. That's kind of where I'm at least right now with my business. And overall, movement is my mantra.
Thank you so much, Libby, for explaining that. I absolutely love that. I want to start with the first question, and that is, do you feel there's currently room for growth in your life?
1000%. I think the moment that we think we've arrived is when we fall stagnant. Growth is perpetual, and there's never one end point. I really feel that I have a lot of room to grow, for sure, 1000%. But I actually really think that having a growth-oriented mindset throughout any phase of an entrepreneurship journey, life, just in general, honestly, is so important, because we have to stay curious and we have to keep learning and growing. And the world is changing around us. So if we don't continue to learn and adapt and grow, then we're just going to get left behind. And so we really have to take that curiosity, growth-oriented mindset and always continue to be in that growth-oriented mindset.
I really believe, especially as a coach or entrepreneur, indeed, the world is moving so fast. So you have to be really open-minded and be willing to learn and adopt everything around you. There's always something to learn, right? And that's how to stay sharp and keep your mind open for new ideas. And it's important.
Yes, 100%. I love learning. I really do. And there's so many different facets of the way that we can grow, whether it's, you can think about your physical health growing. I'm thinking back to kind of where my business is, but then also, mindset, how would you grow in your mindset and adopt new mindsets and keep an open mind? This is actually really interesting. I had a chat with somebody yesterday, and they said this quote that has stuck with me. And they said, your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And so that quote is stuck in my head. And it has been replaying because it also goes on that growth-oriented mindset.
Okay, Libby, thank you so much for sharing that insight. I really love that quote. Maybe one day if we're making t-shirts, we should make t-shirts with the quote notes.
That'd be great.
The retreats and on the podcast. I love it.
Yes.
If we reflect back to your younger years, what was the pivotal moment that you're like, I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to start something of my own instead of just following the normal path.
When I was younger, I don't know if there was one moment. I kind of always knew that I wanted to do something for myself. And or do something a little bit out of the quote unquote norm. When I went to PT school, and then I mean, I was getting my doctorate, and I was doing all of this work and clinicals and different, experiences in these different places in the workforce. And I hated all of it. I did not enjoy it. I really didn't. And so when I finished school and I then did a travel therapy job out in Washington State in the United States, I loved the travel, of course. I hated the job. I remember vividly like sitting in my bedroom of the little place that I was renting there and talking to my mom for like 5 hours. And I was crying. I was like, I hate this job. This is terrible. I don't know what to do. I spent all of this time getting my doctorate to be a physical therapist, and I just really don't like any of it. And she was very, like encouraging, like, it's okay, you'll figure it out. And on that phone call, I was like, I think I need to do something for myself, but I just didn't know what it was yet. So that was later on that I really was like, okay, I need to do something for myself. But I kind of already always had a feeling that I wanted to be a little bit outside the box with whatever I was going to do.
It feels so relatable that you mentioned I didn't enjoy any job I was doing, because for years I worked for other people and that was always a feeling I had. I was working so hard, but at the end of the day, I didn't feel fulfilled, which you're having now with your own thing. So I think that's a big sign that if you're doing something and you keep trying different things and then you still have the feeling like, I don't like this work. There's still something missing. Maybe it's a sign you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's been so interesting to see the evolution of that. And I tell people this all the time. Like I was just telling this to somebody yesterday, but I would rather be working 80, 100 hours a week for myself than 40 hours a week for somebody else. I was driving in my car yesterday and had a bajillion things to do. I was all over the place. And my gas tank has 5 miles left on it, I'm like, crap, and I have to get gas. But I was just thinking about all of these things. And I just then was remembering how I felt when I was in my 9-to-5 job and, just come home after work. And I didn't care about it at all. I just had this feeling, yes, like even though this is hard, I am 1000% doing the right thing.
So actually, even though it is way more work, because it feels fulfilling, it's something you can do every day and you don't count the hours like you would do with a normal job. Like, oh, in 2 hours, I can go home. Shit, I just have 2 hours left and I have all these things to do. You eventually finished your studies and you immediately started something for your own.
So there was about 7 months in between when I finished school. Well, I would say about a year, really, because I took some time off. I did some travel. And then I was working this physical therapy job, but it was a travel therapy job. And for those who might not be familiar with what travel therapy is, essentially you're a contract worker and you sign 13-week contracts in different locations around the US primarily. And they are generally in areas that are very rural. There's not a lot of resources and they generally can't keep a full-time person there. So they hire travel workers to, do these shorter term contracts. And then you can travel. And generally it pays fairly well. So that was my goal. I was like, well, I love to travel. And even if PT is not really my thing, like at least I'll be traveling and it'll be great. And so I did that for about 7 months. I lasted. And then I was like, nope, still not for me. I want to travel and love my job. And so then I came back and then it was another half a year of working in a gym. I started to do some personal training. I got my yoga certification in Thailand. I was a month in Thailand getting my 300-hour yoga certification. And then eventually came back. It was January 1st of 2023. And I was like, I'm doing it. This is the year. I just have to do it. So
Trained it You signed the papers for your own business 2 months before I started, before I signed.
I
Yeah.
know. Crazy, right? We've been on this very interesting, similar trajectory.
That's so true. And you decided, okay, I'm not going to do this side job anymore. I'm going to pursue full-time my own thing. For the people listening, how did you find your first clients and how did you start making your first money? Because I remember feeling the weight of starting something for yourself and all of a sudden paying the bills yourself can feel very heavy. So for someone just starting out, or maybe someone that's already a physical therapist but maybe wants to go a bit more online, what were the first steps you took in order to start making money? Your
Yeah.
own money.
I was still doing some part-time gym work where I was working in a gym and I was doing some personal training, working kind of the front desk area as I was setting up kind of the back end systems for my business. And then when I launched my business, I still was doing a little bit of that, but tried to switch over as quickly as possible. The good thing about what I was doing and what I've found even more, and I'm sure we'll get into this, was being in a space where I already had like connections within this kind of gym community. A lot of my first clients were people who were already in that gym space. So I had already seen them come in and out for classes. And I already had some sort of rapport with these people, so they knew who I was. And then I had relationships with the trainers that were there. And so then the trainers were able to refer their clients if they had an issue to me as well. So that was like the biggest thing. Finding my first clients was a lot about the relationships I already have. And still to this day, actually, it's pretty much mostly referral. Like some people find me online, but for the most part, it's referrals, word of mouth, and just building relationships, which takes time. And I will say for anybody who's starting, I have no regrets. But the biggest thing that I wish that I did sooner was talk about what I was doing, because I'm such a type A kind of perfectionist in a lot of ways. I was like, I have to have the perfect business set up. And then I'll tell people about what I'm doing. And I wish that I would have just talked about it, because I kind of got this, I got this whole business set up and then I was like, okay, where's my clients? And I was like, oh crap, I didn't talk about it for 6 months. I need to go find clients now. So that's what I've given that advice to some other people that I know who I've kind of helped mentor in starting their physical therapy businesses. And that's the biggest piece of advice I can give everybody. And that goes for, I think, really all businesses, is just talk about what you're doing, even if it's not perfect. Talk about the concept, talk about the things, put things out there, because that will really help drive once you actually open and have a full offer. People will be like, oh yeah, like we already chatted about this a little bit. Like I know what you're doing, even if it looks slightly different. People don't really care about that. They just want to know what you're up to, essentially.
Also the word connection and building your network,
Mhm.
because it is true, you're planting seeds all the time, even without you realizing it. It's so important to talk with people and show what you're doing, because if you're not sharing with the world what you're doing, you also can't help anyone, because then all the systems are there, the knowledge is there because you studied for all these years, but then you also need to have people to eventually help, and they need to know that you exist.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's been one of the biggest things too, is for me thinking about those, thinking about that it's been also a mindset shift of like, "Oh, I need to go out and make connections with the purpose of finding clients." And that felt very strained to me. So when I changed my mindset to be like, okay, the purpose is for me just to literally connect with people and learn from them and be able to maybe make new friends or something like that. When I went into relationship building and connecting without, oh my gosh, like a kind of a hard goal of like, I've got to get something out of this, it made everything feel so much more natural, authentic. And those relationships have really blossomed a lot more when there's no expectation for this to like turn into anything, right? It was just
True.
pure connection between people.
And now we're talking about that. I receive a lot of questions from people. They're telling me, hey, I'm I want to go start to attend more network events, meet with more people. But I'm an introvert. I'm a bit scared. I always call you a human sunflower. You're very easygoing, easy to connect with. But I'm sure that also didn't start like that. So if you attend new places, entering spaces where you don't know that many people yet, which tips would you have for people to enter a space they don't know anyone, but still feel comfortable to talk with people? Where would you talk about? Or how
Yeah.
would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because I started going to a real estate meetup this year, and I have nothing to do with real estate. So, but I was like, I'm just gonna go to this event because I had one person who had invited me, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just go and see what's up. And I like to learn about different things. I knew nobody there, and it was a little bit uncomfortable. I have to say, I don't know what to talk about. I don't have anything to do with real estate. But what I found is when I kind of would just go up to a group or something. And this was there was a little bit of facilitation, which I think is nice when you go to a networking event. If there is a little bit of facilitation, we had name tags with like different colors, and so I kind of went to my station, and kind of in that block of people. But everybody's asking, well, what do you do? What do you do? And I would just be like, well, actually, I have my own physical therapy business and coaching practice. And then a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like I actually really like health and wellness. And we're in a real estate meetup, but there's a lot more people who are interested, obviously, in a lot of other things besides, maybe what quote unquote the purpose is of that meetup. And people are super interested in all the different ways that those things can connect. And so,
Mhm.
if there's not a facilitated component like that, then what I would say is I just look for people who look friendly, like somebody who has a smile on their face already, who's talking with like an energized, because that's my vibe, right? Like I'm gonna vibe with somebody who's already kind of like, yeah, feeling really engaging. And so I look for those people first, kind of, and just scan the room, and then if you walk up to somebody and they just kind of like not gonna talk to you,
You
then
just run
then
away.
you just move. You're just like, well, thank you. It's so nice to meet you. And you just go on the rest of your day and don't take it personal because that person probably is just, you never
Yeah,
know what other
it's
people are
not your
going.
kind of it's
Yeah.
true. And I want to add one extra tip to that. It also helps me to have a rule. I'm just asking questions to the
Mm,
people until they ask me something back. You get to know the person really well, and then you can immediately see the vibe. Are they a bit talkative? Are they more introverted?
mhm.
Or there's really no vibe going on? And can I spot any similarities we have where we can talk a bit more
Yeah,
deeper into?
that's a good tip. Definitely. I like
It's a
that.
good filter.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Thank you for the tips. I always love to hear how do people behave when entering a space where they don't know anyone, right?
Yeah.
Because as entrepreneurs, you have to go so often out of your comfort zone, and
Mhm.
networking and getting to know people and getting yourself out there is a big part of that. And I know that's for a lot of people very scary.
Yeah. Yeah. There's actually, so I just had a networking event last night that I ran called the Human Health Collective. And there's one of my people that I invited. She was the one of the last people to leave, which is so funny because she was telling me, she's like, I never get out. Like I never do these things. She's raised 3 kids pretty much on her own. And all she's been doing for the past 30 years, is mostly raising her children. And she's like, I haven't been at now that her kids are like moving out of the house, she's like, I haven't been out in so long. And she was like, I feel really scared to come into these spaces. But, she was putting herself into those like kind of uncomfortable situations, or at least the way that she kind of presented it, and had an amazing time, meeting new people and just finding one or two people to kind of connect to. And I
Mhm.
think that also makes a difference is when you don't go in with the thing of like, oh, I have to meet all of these new people. It's like, no,
Yeah.
make just 2 good connections, like it just really doesn't have to be a whole lot. Like maybe you just meet 1 or 2 people, even like one person could be the difference.
Yeah.
And I start the meetup with this quote, and I kind of brought this from my co-founder's real estate meetup as well. And he always starts a meetup with the thought that the person that you need to meet is here tonight. And it may be for your business, it may be for a personal reason, it may be for anything else that you're going on. But I love starting with that mindset shift
Yeah.
of that the person that you need to meet is here. Because then when you go into conversations, it really opens you up to be able to hear what other people are going to speak to you about and see what you can learn from them.
I love that mindset. And it's also like, oh, I want to talk with everyone. No, it's, I have trust that the person I talk to will be there in front of me
Yeah.
and having the trust in the process
Yes.
of the networking. Thank you. I love that.
That's a good one.
Then I want to reflect a bit back on your journey because you are a physical therapist, but
Mhm.
now you're all of a sudden also organizing events.
Yeah.
Which is to give a little insights for the people listening. So Libby joined a few of our events. We will talk in a bit later. We'll talk more about that. And I think during one of the retreats, she got the word connection out of it. And then the moment I met Libby and when I called her for my first event, she also joined my very first event. She told me that it was her dream to create something that connects the health space because she felt it was very divided. How did that shift happen and what is it exactly that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. I have been doing a lot of reflecting lately and thinking about kind of like pivotal markers along my life journey and then also entrepreneurial journey. And the retreat that I did in Morocco with you guys, the first one in Tamarak to Tagazout, I was going through a very difficult time within like my personal life and, you know, going through a major breakup and having to move and lots of different changes going on. The gym that I was in had been sold earlier that year. I was in a funny place with the new owner, not really sure what was happening. And it felt like constantly in that year that the rug was just like being pulled out from underneath me. Like every time I felt like I found my footing, like something else was pulled out from underneath me. And so I went for the first time traveling solo in a while. I've traveled quite a bit solo, but for the first time traveling solo, came to Morocco and met incredible people. I came and I was welcomed into the home of locals for Ramadan for breaking of the fast. I was like the very first day that I arrived in Casablanca, you know, and like meeting this amazing family. I met this French girl who didn't speak hardly any English and I don't speak any French, but we spent 3 days together just
I
wandering
remember seeing
around and
all
talking.
these stories and you were all of a sudden with Moroccan people in their house.
Moroccan people. I made Moroccan friends. Like I went out to tea and coffee with Moroccans who showed me around all around. And it was
Morocco is amazing.
incredible. And then I came to the retreat, of course. And like obviously the Viumatico has such a an amazing vibe. And like you guys have such a way of facilitating and organizing such a curated group of people. And so, of course, when I came, I'll automatically connect with all of these individuals, and I knew you, of course, but like I didn't, and I knew Bridget and some other people that had been on previous retreats, but most everybody was new. I came home after that trip of just being so my cup was so full. I'm getting chills thinking about it because that trip was so monumental. Why is it so easy for me to create connection in this foreign country with foreign people and people I never knew, and automatically I just could connect, and I felt so alive with that. And I realized a couple things. I realized that I was so unattached to the outcome of what the relationships were going to be. I was able to be so truly and authentically myself. I didn't have any obligation to be a certain person in this new realm and this new world, right? And so, you know, if people liked me for who I was, then perfect. And if they didn't, then who cares? I'm not going to ever see them again. So, you know, I had this mindset of like, I can just show up and be exactly who I am. And I realized that I wasn't doing that at home because I was like, why is it so easy for me to make these connections when I'm traveling? And when I'm at home, I don't feel like I have that same connection. And so I came home and I really had to change that mindset. So the word connection I got from that trip. And
Yeah, and you came back later that year again and joined us again to Morocco.
Exactly. I love Morocco. Morocco is like so special to my heart because of that trip, and I love the way that the vibe too of the culture of Morocco like is so welcoming. It just like
Yeah.
like a big hug. Like I absolutely love it. And yeah, I had that connection, that word, the connection, and I started making friends in Chattanooga. I started just introducing myself. I would like be in a place and I was training some people. I'd be like, "Hey, my name's Libby. I'm the trainer here. Nice to meet you." But I made friends and I had one of the most amazing, summers of meeting people. And then after going to the second Morocco retreat, I really then I kind of started to think about the word community, as well as earlier this year going to Portugal with you guys.
Yeah, that also happened.
Villa.
Yes.
And so then finding the word community to go along with connection, I was like, okay, I have this vision for creating more connection around health and wellness. And in health and wellness, there's so many siloed pieces. There's your doctors, there's your physical therapists, your gyms, your nutritionists, your mental health therapists, all of these things. But a lot of times, all of those are very siloed and they're not coming together the way that they should. So I had this vision of maybe building my business up piece by piece and, making this thing really big. But I realized one, it's going to take a long time. And I don't really want to take that long. And two, I was like, am I creating something that's a beast I don't really want from an in-person perspective if it's this massive brick and mortar business? And because I want to travel. Coming home, I was like, okay, how do I create community more quickly? And then that's when I was going to this meetup for real estate. And I was like, I think I could take the concept of what this real estate meetup is and apply it to health and wellness. And so I
Yeah.
approached my now friend and co-founder in the Human Health Collective about taking his concept from the real estate meetup and creating one around health and wellness. So now, while I still do physical therapy and I'm really building a online coaching community alongside this in-person community. The Human Health Collective is that. It's a collective of people from all different realms of health and wellness, from professionals in health and healthcare, and then wellness, more like, your yoga teachers, coaches, practitioners, and then just people in general public who are learning and looking to learn about how to live healthier, longer lives and doing the things that they love for longer. And so that's how the Human Health Collective meetup was born. And that's the current one of the current events that I'm running. But it's been really, truly amazing to see people latch on so quickly to
Yeah.
this concept of community and connection around health and wellness and break down those walls, because there's so many barriers these days. I think people are very siloed. And so yeah, I know that was a long-winded answer, but that's kind of the story on that
No,
one.
but it's beautiful. And I'm just curious because, as you attended so many of our events, what do you think that the magical thing is that you get these insights during business retreats and these kind of spaces where you get time, to think about these things? What is the pivotal thing that you think that that give these?
There's so many aspects to it, right? But I think it's kind of this combination of like being put in a new place, right? Like your mind is already starting to be open because you're in maybe it's a new country for some people, or just a new group of people, and your mind is already starting to open in a way that, you don't normally have when you're sitting behind your desk, your normal space.
Mm-hmm.
And so that open mind first, like you already have to have that open mind. And then I think like one of the magical things that kind of like I talked about is like the way that you guys are able to curate such a group of people that are going to connect, just not from like a business standpoint, because honestly, I don't think that is the most important thing. I think it's the human connection
Yeah.
that makes the biggest difference. And then when you connect on a human level, even if you're doing two totally different things, the way that you are able to learn from each other is even more. because you might have these totally different perspectives on business, but the vibe and the personality connects so well that it's so much easier to be able to be open to all of these new ideas and thought processes, and just it's a contagious type of love and friendship. People that I've met on your retreats are lifelong friends. Like, you're a lifelong friend, but like, I've met so many other lifelong friends. It's really such an incredible thing, and those relationships are worth their weight in gold. Like, it's more than the business, honestly. Like,
It's so true.
friendships and relationships are so important. I think that that's like one of the biggest magic pieces.
I think it's really for me and Robin, at least, it's really a goal to create a safe space that indeed, like you're saying, people can show up as they are, really their true authentic self. They don't have to keep a wall. That's why we usually also start with masterminds, because everyone shows up, shows themselves as how they are, what their struggles are, what are the things they achieved. And by creating that safe space and attracting the right people and not allowing everyone but the right people, and having the space to think and look with a bird's eye view to your business, to your life, it creates these pivotal moments, these insights. Because if you're in your daily to-do list and your daily grind, and your agenda, your calendar are full with all the things that need to be done, you don't have time to think and actually sit and look to your business and life like, oh, am I still building the thing I should be building, right? Am I doing the things that fulfill me?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super grateful to hear that it worked and that it keeps on working.
It does. It does. It's so important. And I think that a lot of times this was something that came up, I know, between a lot of the founders at the Founders Villa that you had at the World Nomad Festival this past, gosh, was that May?
May. It was May, yes.
It's a lonely process a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you've posted about this like somewhat recently, is that like being a founder, especially a solopreneur, you're on your own a lot of times, and you're not entirely sure, like, is this right or wrong? And if you're an overthinker like I am, and also like an overachiever, it's a lot of times tough to make a decision because it's all on you, and without having the ability to just like even chat through it, and you might know what you need to do, but like just the ability to talk with other people about that and just voice it out loud, so you're not just like talking to yourself constantly.
And immediately receiving feedback on it as well.
Exactly. It just makes such a difference, and being in a an arena where everybody else is also so motivated to be doing their thing that they are so passionate about, it makes me more passionate about what I'm doing. I see how passionate you are about, writing AI code. So I'm going to be super passionate about like what I'm doing, and I'm so excited, and I personally feed off of that energy. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs do. And even though we are doing things constantly and we're in the grind, when you are next to the person who also is able to feed off of that, it just blossoms.
Great magic. Yeah.
It's magic. It really
so
is.
true. It's so true. Well, thank you so much, JB. I want to ask one final thing about the retreat, and then I want to ask also one final thing about the movement, because you have so much knowledge about that. As you attended so many events, and people, that are maybe listening to this and they're like, I'm thinking about joining their events, but I'm hesitating. Can you share one message, maybe one of the biggest insights or motivations for you that you were like, okay, this is for you if you're experiencing this?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the biggest insights that I have a phrase, and it's just go. Just go. Literally, I say that and I say that like in terms of going to a retreat, but also like yesterday I was trying to get to the gym, and I literally just had to tell myself, just go. Just go.
Take action.
Just go.
Take the action.
Take the action. And I think that, the insight for me, like I've talked about a lot here, is that the connection, and that the person that you need to meet will be there. I mean, I really truly have a lot of like trust and faith in that you might not get the answer to your biggest question in the most detailed way and have your plan all marked out, but there is going to be an insight that you might not even realize you have. Like for myself, like it was over, the several weeks after coming home and reflection on that time was like, oh my gosh. And now some of those times are the most pivotal in my memory of how I've then shifted the way that I've been going about things. So,
Yeah.
it's something where we always want, people want, something like, what is the thing that I'm going to come away with? Right. And it's like, you're going to come away with a lot of friendships, 1000%, a lot of good vibes and good memories, probably eaten a lot of food, seen some amazing things, worked on your business and come on with a lot of insights. Yes, 100%. But I think that the biggest thing is that you're going to walk away and remember how the feeling of being in that community in a Via Monica retreat, or event, and you're going to have that forever. That's going to be a pivotal moment, and that's going to shift things. And you might not even realize how that's going to shift things, but it will 100%.
Yeah.
So
It's
just
the
go.
energy you step into. Then I love it that you can always step back in your memory into that energy of your feeling down and not knowing what to do, which
Mhm.
will happen for sure during the entrepreneurial journey. And there's a group of people that understand you and you can always count on and refer back to.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the thing too, is like, it's like, yeah, you go on a retreat or do an event, but like within a community, right? And that's kind of a
Yeah.
biggest thing that we've talked about. Those people are lifelong friends, and that
Yeah.
community is there to be a support system
Mhm.
when and if you need it. And, I probably don't reach out to people as much as I maybe should sometimes, but I think that that is such a benefit that people will receive, because you have people in your corner. Like,
Yeah.
having people in your
It's
corner is so
true.
important.
It's true. It's true that you have people you can count on and refer back to. And as you have so much knowledge about sport and health, for the people listening, we have a lot of really busy entrepreneurs, way overworked sometimes. Magical question: how do you balance being an entrepreneur, but also still sticking to your routines, going to the gym, and staying active and healthy? Because you're a really big inspiration for me. I see that you're super busy, but you're still posting in the gym, doing your things. If there's one tip you could give to people or two,
Mhm.
what would you suggest doing if you're a busy entrepreneur, but you still want to stay active and healthy and
Yeah.
life happens?
100%. So, my biggest tip for people is to schedule it like a meeting. You put it on the calendar, just like you put anything else on the calendar, and you block off that time. And so, I know you've talked about time blocking, but if you have a time block, like, you can't delete it, you can move it. And if it needs to shift with things, but you can't delete it, that is my biggest tip, is
Mhm.
to really to schedule that like a meeting. It's like a meeting with yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to show up that way. And I think that, for a lot of people, they think that it has to be perfect, right? A lot of, oh, if I don't spend at least an hour in the gym, then it wasn't worth it. Or if I don't go on at least like a 3-mile run or whatever the distance is, then it's not worth it. And that's false, right? I use the concept from James Clear, of course, like 1% better all the time with clients. And I talk about how, if we can just do things 1% better each day, then it really compounds. And what I will say for entrepreneurs, which is a hard thing for people to kind of get, because we don't think about our body longevity the way we think about our business longevity sometimes, but your health is your biggest investment. And if
Yeah.
you want to be doing the things that you love for longer, whether that is running your business, traveling, doing the fun things in life that, your business hopefully maybe, or whatever your business goals are to be able to get you to that spot. If you don't also invest in your health, then
Mhm.
you will never be able to reap the rewards of what you've created from your business.
That's so true.
It's Your health is your absolutely biggest investment that you can make. And there's compounding interest on every one of those 1% that you do. So
Yeah.
just like with the stock market, compounding interest is absolutely real with your health as well. And so even if it's getting up and doing 10 body weight squats every 30 minutes or hour or something like that, or some push-ups every morning, if that's all you can do for the day, perfect. So I really, tell people to give themselves grace, but put it on the calendar and remember that your health is your biggest
Your
investment.
biggest investment, your biggest asset, because without your health, without your body, you cannot do anything. And let's be honest, we do want to look a bit sexy. That's also a thing. But
Yes.
it's so true. Once something happens with your health, you realize how important your health is. And we need our 8 hours. Well, at least I realize I need my 8 hours of sleep. I need my movement, because if I don't, my focus is just not there. And I'm not reaching the same level of achievements as when I'm taking time for myself.
Yeah. 1000%. Here's another little quote basically for you.
I love the quote notes.
All the quotes, right? But there's this quote, and again, I can't remember who said it, but it was basically the gist is you can have 1,000 problems until you lose your health, and then you have just one. And so you can have all of the problems in the world, but when you lose your health, then your health is the absolute priority, and that's the only problem that you have to figure out how to deal with. So if you are able to manage that and prevent that through preventative health, through movement, through sleep, through nutrition, through taking care of your body and your mind, your mental health is also very important with that, right? And it all connects. I cannot tell people how important it is, and people don't realize it until it's taken away from them in some capacity.
Yeah.
And I think we've all had our fair share of sicknesses and things that we've gone through when we realize like we're mortal,
Yeah.
and we don't live forever. So we
It's
take
very
care of
true.
it.
The moment you realize that, you're like, oh shit. No, it's true. Well, thank you so much, Libby, for sharing all these insights and sprinkles of knowledge. And I'm really enjoying this conversation. If there are people listening to this and they're like, whoa, I really want to connect with Libby, and maybe they want to work with you, maybe they just want to become friends, maybe they're also physical therapists or in the health sector. They're like, oh, I also want to attend the network events she's organizing.
Yes.
Where can people find you?
Yes. So probably the place I'm most active would be on Instagram. It's at Movement Mantra PT. So
I will add it to the description.
yeah, perfect. And then I'm Libby Schwartz on Facebook. And then actually, I guess this will be a little bit of a preview, but I am launching a Facebook community. So
Yay!
yes, it is going to be the Movement Mantra Method. And in that Facebook community, I will really be working to provide even more value than I do in my social media, and lots of information, trainings, different workshops, that
Amazing.
sort of thing. So if you are interested in being a part of that community, then the Movement Mantra Method group on Facebook, you'll be able to find me there as well.
Perfect. Well, I will connect all the links also to your community, to your Instagram, all the links you want me to connect. I will add them to the description so people can connect with you. Then I have one final question. I'm always curious about people, their routines, because it's something I'm exploring. I'm always like, am I a morning person? Do I work better in the evening? So I'm just curious as a final question.
Yeah.
What's your routine? Like, are you a morning person? Are you an evening person?
Definitely a morning person, I would say. I've been trying to bring my wake up earlier, and going to bed earlier is the hard part. So for me, I do the exact same thing every single morning. I get up, I make my bed, I go to the bathroom, I press start on the microwave, I make protein oatmeal every single morning. I've eaten the same thing for like 9 years straight. You know this. And I press go on the coffee maker. I sit down. I do a 3 to 5 minute meditation or listen to some affirmations. Like I just sit for 3 to 5 minutes. Like I don't put a lot of pressure on myself to do a whole long meditation. And then I try to eat my breakfast without looking at my phone. And then from there, the day goes. Maybe I work a little bit. What I have found most recently, because I was playing around with my routine as well, is that I discovered that even though I get in a good workflow in the morning because I'm the most productive in the morning. I burn out later in the day if I just try to work straight from the morning all the way to the afternoon. And then also my workouts and my fitness is I'm exhausted just because my brain has been going. So what I realized more recently is that I really need to like more physically exhaust my body in the morning so that my body is calm so that my mind can really sit and focus. And so I have found that if I do maybe a little bit of work in the morning, I usually do more of like some of my social media posting and stuff. And then I work out at like 7 a.m. Like usually I'm up around like 5:30 and then I start working out at like 7. I've digested my food and everything. I am so much better the rest of the day. And then I don't feel guilty later on, like working. I'm like, oh, I still got to work out. I still got to work out. That's on the calendar. And so I have really found that physical exhaustion has helped my like mental longevity throughout the day, the workday, because my body is calm. So that's kind of where I am with my routine right now.
Okay, amazing. And around what time do you wake up and around what time are you going to bed?
Yeah, so my alarm goes off at like 5:10. Usually I try to get up at like
5 a.m. club?
I probably sleep more like this morning. I try to get enough sleep. So that has been something too. I will shift my alarm, but generally I wake up somewhere between 5 and 6, close to like 5:30 to 6 around that time. And my bedtime in my head is 10 p.m. So I've been trying to shut off my phone and computer by 9:30 and get myself ready. In January, I was doing a really good job of implementing reading before bed, and I've tried to re-implement that. So most nights I'll read even if it's just a page or two before I shut off the light, and try to shut off the light around 10:30. So that's kind of where I am. But my sleep habits are the ones I struggle with the most.
Well, there's always something to improve, right?
100%.
There's always something to improve. Okay, well, thank you so much, Libby, for this amazing interview.
Thank you.
I'm very happy we finally spoke again, and I can't wait to see you soon again in real life.
Yes.
For everyone listening, thank you so much. And again, if you have any questions about this episode, feel free to reach out to us, and I make sure all the questions get to Libby. And again, thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And obviously, I am just so thankful to be here and watch you and the Vimatico grow. It's been truly an honor to be alongside you in this journey. And I just like am so excited to see where it all goes because I just know that there's just so much more. Like we talked about at the beginning, that's like coming full circle. There's always more to grow, but it's so magical when you can do it alongside somebody and feel their passion. So I'm just really thankful for you and the things that you do and for having me on.
Thank you so much. I love you so much.
Love you too.
And I'm just very grateful for all your support as well from all these years. I mean, you've literally been at my first event. You've attended, I think, by now 4 events. And besides that, you're just an amazing friend. I know I can count on you, and you're a really huge inspiration to me. So I love you.
I love you too.
And for the people that are listening, don't forget to subscribe, rate the podcast, because it will help us a lot and it will help us reach more people.
Yay.
Okay, wait, how do I stop recording? Stop.